Good evening, or afternoon, or morning, or whatever it happens to be while you're watching this. Um, Video number two from the new studio. Trying to get back in the swing of this and do something on the regular with these now. So I'm back with another one. This one's probably going to raise a ruckus, cause some angst, some feelings of butthurtness, probably, if you don't listen all the way through. Most of you that know me know I think kind of from different perspectives. Not I'll say outside the box, if you will, or whatever. But I have kind of different insights and my takes on things. So this is just one of them. I felt like I should do it. Felt it was kind of necessary, so I'm doing it. Hope you enjoy. Hope you don't get too mad. But again, please listen all the way through. So this video is about the whole Back to Blue movement right now. Obviously, the left and their minions have come out with, defund the police. They want to abolish the police. They want to get rid of them, because they're all bad. They're out hunting and shooting black people and all that, the lies that they push. So I think the popularity of the Back to Blue movement, as of the last 4 or 5 months or so, is in direct response to being a direct opposition to that mindset of the left. So I think there's a lot of people that bandwagon it, but I mean there's people that honestly back to police, and that's fine. But my take on this is probably gonna make some of you question, but whatever. I'm gonna just start with the title or the main gist of what this video is. I don't back the blue. I back the law. Hear me out. Police officers, being a police officer is a noble profession. It's an honorable profession. I'm not disparaging that. I'm not. This is no way a video about degrading the police. Police they're kind of like referees. They're always going to piss somebody off when they make a call. They're going to piss off the person they arrest, and they're going to piss off people when they don't arrest. It's a no-win for them, if you will. But, they chose it. It's their profession. It's what they got to deal with. So, I'm not going to sit there and give them a total pass, if you will. But it's what they got to deal with. And, the whole saying is they spend 90% of their time dealing with 1% of the population. That 1% of the population happens to commit 90% of the crime. Okay, so they're not always dealing with the most reputable, upstanding citizens that are there. And then you have all the recent media bullshit with their whole the media's on the bandwagon of defunding the police and getting rid of them, and they're pushing that whole narrative as well. So they have a lot to deal with. So again, this is not a bashing of police. My issue comes to one of the bigger parts of this is the whole thin blue line. I've mentioned this in another video, but I'm kind of going to narrow down on this a little bit more. The thin blue line is a detriment to police. And what I mean by that is a lot of this is going to be perception. If those of you that are police officers or former police officers or whatever may not get this perspective from people, but the thin blue line does a lot of bad for that profession. It does a lot of good, and I'll get to that later on, but I'm going to focus on the bad to kind of give you a perspective of where I'm coming from. One of the things that the thin blue line does is hide the wrongdoings of bad cops. So you have cops that do something wrong, and the other cops hide it. It could be the way they write their reports, hiding of evidence, planting of evidence, anything along those lines, right? This thin blue line mindset goes all the way up to and including the judicial system. So you have courts or judges that district attorneys that don't prosecute police even though they should because they're friends. The DAs want to work hand in hand with the police, and they don't want to go after a police officer who done something bad because they know now they're not going to get the same cooperation, if you will, with the rest of that police department. This perception makes you, or the perception is with the thin blue line, is that it makes you a gang that is above or beyond the law, if you will. Police, the perception being police can get away with murder, literally, because you investigate yourselves, right? Your IA, they're part of your department. They're not an independent entity with any kind of, objective piece to this. But you police yourselves. You have the DAs on your side. You have the judges on your side that go lenient on you or throw a case out on an officer because of something they wouldn't do with a normal person. That's, again, perception, but just kind of giving you a perspective of where I'm coming from. I understand the other side of the thin blue line. If you're a police officer and you don't toe the line, you rat out a bad cop, or you don't do something to help a cop who's in a bad spot, you now have a crap ton of shit to deal with. You have potentially police officers that won't come to your aid when you request backup or call for backup over the radio. You don't get your backing from leadership. Some instances you have your leadership coming after you. They're going to try to find everything they can to write you up, to get you fired. So it's a double-edged sword that you have to walk, and I respect that and understand it. But you still are a representation of the government that 90% of the people, that's all the representation they'll ever see of the government with their own eyes, if you will. They don't ever meet their congressmen, senators, the city council members, the mayor, the governor. They don't ever see those people, but you're the ones they see. And when dirty cops do dirty deeds and the other cops cover for it, it leaves a bad taste with a lot of people. That's why I'm saying, I said at the very beginning, I back the law. I don't back the thin blue line. I don't back the blue. If you are a police officer and you're following the law and you're doing your job and you're doing what you're supposed to do, I got your back 100%. I'm the guy that will pull over on the side of the road and help assist a cop if he's in a scuffle or whatever with another person. Wouldn't even think twice about it. I would also do the same thing for a civilian, if you will, who's in a tussle with a cop who's in the wrong. Like it or love it, right or wrong, I don't care, but I back the law. I'll call out bad cops as quick as I call out bad civilians or non-police officers. You're a person first and foremost. You wear a badge and wear a gun and it makes you a representative of our government, but you're still a person. If you're a bad person, your badge just makes you a bad person with a badge. I'm not going to back you when I know you're bad or you've done something wrong, you've done something illegal, something, criminal, whatever along those lines. Along those lines too, I'm a firm believer in cops that do commit criminal activity. You should be given the harshest legal punishment for your crime, if obviously convicted, found guilty by a jury of peers, etc. You enforce the law. You have no excuse for not knowing what the law is. If you've abused your power as a police officer to affect a criminal activity, that's 10 times worse in my book. You know better. You know what the law is. You have to know the law. You don't have to know every law, obviously, but you have to know the law in order to enforce the law. So what you're doing, you have no excuse for. First-time offenders. If you're a first-time offender civilian and a first-time offender cop, sorry, but you're a cop. You know the law. You enforce the law. You have no excuse if you have conducted and been found, guilty of committing a criminal type of activity. I don't believe in overcharging police, meaning if you are a cop and you commit a criminal act, you shouldn't be have an increased charge. So as an example, if you commit, negligent homicide as an example, you shouldn't be tried for first degree murder because that's not the charge that fits. You should be charged with negligent homicide, go to court, jury, all the good fun stuff. So I see it going on right now, especially with a lot of stuff that's going on where police are being like the officers in Atlanta when they shot the drunk DUI guy, the whole debacle, charging them with first degree murder. That's how in the world does that make sense in any rational person's mind? There was no premeditation. There was no intent. They reacted to a situation. I mean, if they're going to charge them with something that's, I don't think they were guilty of, by the way. They were doing their job and the dumbass committed dumbassery, but whatever. You could go with negligent homicide. You could go with manslaughter, something along those lines, because that's a, punishment crime fit. You get what I'm saying? So I don't agree with overcharging the police or adding on charges to the police. I believe in it, the charge should be charged that fits the criminal activity. It's the punishment side because you have no excuse or whatever you want to say. You know the law. You know what you're doing was wrong. Absolutely. So I believe in more severe punishment for the police. I don't, within the limits. So if you commit a crime and the maximum allowance sentence for that particular crime is 5 years and you're found guilty of it, you're not going to get 10 years for it. You get 5. Whereas, an equivalent civilian, 2 years, time off, good behavior, parole, whatever. I hope you understand what I'm saying. The bottom line of this is no one is above the law. No one should ever be above the law. That is from Joe Schmuck civilian up to and including the President of the United States. Yes, I'm a firm believer in the President of the United States. If he or she commits a felonious act, arrested, I don't give a shit what office you hold. That holds true for senators and congressmen and governors and mayors, any political official, any governmental official. Don't care what office you hold. If you commit a criminal activity, you need to be arrested, charged, and tried. I'm sorry, I don't believe in, he's a senator, he can't be charged, or she's a congressman, she can't, no. Police officers are a representation or representative of our government. You are not above the law. President, not above the law. Senator, whatever. Nobody is above the law. That is how the law is supposed to be applied. So I go back to the beginning of this where I'm saying I don't back the blue, I back the law. If you violate the law, regardless of the office you hold, the uniform you wear, whatever, you should go through the same process that every Joe Schmuck civilian would have to go through. You get no special privileges. So when I hear and I see people saying they back the blue and they're all about the police and the thin blue line flags, okay, I understand where some of that's coming from. It's because of where we are currently in our social upheaval. But I don't worship anybody. I don't worship police simply because they're police. If you're a great cop, great, you're a great cop. If you're a mediocre cop but a great person, well, you're a mediocre cop and a great person. Or you're a great cop and a mediocre person, whatever, I don't care. I'm not going to sit there and raise you onto a pedestal. I'll shake your hand and say thank you for your service, just as well as I'll berate you or condemn you if you've done something wrong. It's not personal. It's not because I hate that particular cop or like that particular cop. It's what you're doing with regards to the law. The law is the fabric of our nation. It has to be applied equally and evenly across the board. I there's no other way to really say that, and no, I don't know how else to emphasize that. You have to be, everybody has to be held to the exact same standard, i.e. the law. Application of punishment for committing a crime. Okay, I got into that. There's no excuse for a police officer. You knew what you were doing, and especially if it gets to the point where you used your power of office or influence of office, or however you want to look at that, to try to hide it or bury it, or you try to coerce witnesses that also wear badges to not testify or whatever. No, I don't. Absolutely not. I wouldn't get that protection. Why should you? If me and a police officer committed the same crime, and there's officers that witnessed me commit the crime, officers that witnessed that cop commit the crime, would I have the benefit of those police officers lying on my behalf to keep me from getting in trouble? Absolutely not. Why should that police officer? It should be even worse, because that one bad police officer, the whole one bad apple bunch thing, now makes those other police officers look like they're all criminals. You're a gang with a badge. So that's my take on the thin blue line. You can hate me for it. I hope you understand where I'm coming from. It's not a bash on police. I don't hate police. I don't really hate anybody. I hate stupidity. I hate willful ignorance. But I don't really hate anybody. I don't really hate any profession. Okay, maybe a couple, but that's another video. But anyway, I just thought I'd share my thoughts on this, because I had seen it a couple times, and I've been thinking about this for a while, and I want to get this out. I want to get it off, out of my head, off my chest, and throw that out there, and hopefully it resonates with somebody. I'm hoping you guys understood where I'm coming from and at least agree with me. If you don't, tell me you don't. That's fine. Call me a hater, whatever. That's fine. But anyway, that's out there. So let me know what you think. With that, I'll say goodnight. Good night, Gracie.